Now, first up, we are going to talk to you about the Prime Minister addressing the 9th Governing Council of the NITI Aayog. And the Prime Minister spoke about many subjects. He spoke, first of all, to the 20 states and 6 union territories. Chief Ministers of 20 states and union territories were present there, Lieutenant Governors. About the remarks, he talked about collective efforts from the centre as well as the states to realize a Viksit Bharat. And that implies also Viksit Bharat states. And then he has called upon the states, as we can see here, to create their own vision documents. And this would include each state and district can create a vision for 2047 Viksit Bharat. He talked about river grids by the states for water management, one of the important aspects, and to initiate a demographic dividend management plan. This is to address the problems of population, aging population, which could come in the future, but currently also skilling and training of youth to make them employment ready, and zero poverty should be the goal and a priority for Viksit Bharat. Then he talked about implementing measures to foster competition. This is something for the NITI Aayog to do. India has strengthened social as well as economic factors and infrastructure. India now, in fact, is one of the strongest economies in the world, exporting to various parts of the world. And this is the confidence, the Prime Minister said, of 140 crore Indians. It's that enthusiasm which is the driving force of India. He also talked about the Aspirational Districts program, which is anchored by NITI Aayog. And then there is to leverage the centre's FDI policy. Here's something that the NITI Aayog is supposed to do. It's supposed to prepare an investment-friendly charter. And the NITI Aayog is to study the suggestions given by the states and to come out with a comprehensive plan. Then he has asked the states, in fact, we move to the next slide, to ranking by the NITI Aayog. This is to create some competitive federalism in the country. NITI Aayog to rank the states and to create a competitive and cooperative federalism, an atmosphere to bring out the best in each state. The Prime Minister has called for investor-friendly charter, and that would imply that India is to achieve steady growth in the past 10 years. We can see that taking forward the collective aim of the government, of all its citizens, to make India the 3rd largest economy of the world. All these things should be factored in. That driving force is to move forward. India is strengthened by social and economic infrastructure, as we said earlier. And then he's talked about charter to detail policies, programs, and ranking on the basis of law and order, infrastructure, and good governance. These are the aspects in which the NITI Aayog is going to work with the states to try and create that Viksit Bharat overall plan for 2047. This is a Team India plan. And the Prime Minister, a few days after that, spoke to CII, the industry chamber CII, and he told entrepreneurs and business leaders about the plan, about how the states are going to work together to create a Viksit Bharat. Let's listen to what the Prime Minister said.
मैंने नीति आयोग की बैठक में भी अभी जब मुख्यमंत्रियों से मीटिंग हुई तो मैंने उनसे कहा है कि इन्वेस्टर फ्रेंडली चार्टर तैयार करे हर राज्य, राज्यों के बीच एक हेल्दी कंपटीशन हो इन्वेस्टमेंट को आकर्षित करने के लिए। और मैं नहीं चाहता हूं कि मेरे देश का एक भी राज्य पीछे रह जाए।
So joining us now from the bustling financial and technological hub of Gurugram near Delhi is Dr. Amit Kapoor. He's the chairman of the Institute of Competitiveness. He's a visiting scholar at Stanford University, California. Thank you very much, Dr. Kapoor. Now, the Prime Minister said that Viksit Bharat, it can be realized through Viksit states, developed states. So how important is it then for the states to compete to become investment destinations on their own?
So this is a very important point that the Honorable Prime Minister has said, that if you talk about any country for that matter, it's a sum of locations within the country. So when I talk about location, it's a sum of states that we actually see here. So we have those 28 states, the union territories, and we have to understand as to what drives each one of those states. So let's discern this data a little more, or try to understand it a bit more. When you talk about India, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, or Andhra and Telangana, they do exceedingly well in terms of economic growth. But you also have the laggards out here, in terms of the performance of states like, say, Bihar. Today, if you really look at the number, when you talk about Maharashtra, Maharashtra possibly is the richest state in the country, gets the highest level of contribution to GDP. You have Bihar, which is the bottom, again, in the bottommost category of the economic performance, and their per capita income is the lowest in the country as well. So if you really look at it, so it becomes exceedingly important that each state needs to draw its own trajectory, keeping in mind the overall trajectory that the country wants to do. Because if the states don't do well,
Yes.
then the country does not do well. It's effectively going to be a sum total. And in each state, there are going to be districts.
Okay.
And if you really look at the data per se, and just a small point here, that the top 100 districts in the country contribute close to about 80% of India's GDP. So that
Okay.
means the whole aspect goes down, and you have to go deeper in terms of understanding what we can do with the other set of districts. And that is what the Honorable Prime Minister has said. And when competition happens, the attraction of FDI would, of course, be there, because
Right.
investment is always going to be looking at an attractive destination. So the idea is that it is not that Indian states are competing against each other. Today, we are competing across the globe. It is that Maharashtra is competing with Vietnam or Thailand for investment. And that's the same case for either Bihar or UP as well. UP is not only competing with Maharashtra, it is competing with the other nations in, say, Africa itself for attracting investment. So that is what the whole idea is, that we compete amongst each other. That's a healthy thing in terms of really creating that mechanism of the best performance within the country. But we are looking at something what you would call as a global benchmarks as you move along.
Dr. Kapoor, how confident are you, given India's growth potential, of India achieving zero poverty as a target?
Oh, I think that's a given. It's not something which is a debatable point. Eventually, India will get to the zero poverty thing. The question is going to be that how do we want, if you really look at the multidimensional poverty that the government has been talking about, that NITI Aayog did that report, we are already in the single digit figures. So once we are able to really understand that economic development is just not about what you call creating infrastructure, it is also about creating social infrastructure. And that is what the aspirational district program effectively talks about.
Yes.
So you are moving in tandem. So I think we will be able to achieve zero poverty. The larger question is going to be that how do we really push forward by creating that employment and everybody just moving up the scale. So the next story, yes, India is going to be the third largest economy in the world in the next few what I call years itself. Now the other thing is going to be, as we develop, the per capita incomes will rise. We will, when India becomes a developed country by 2047, and the figure could be anything close to about $18,000 to $22,000 as per capita income. That's a very interesting point, because today we are at just about $2,800, and suddenly you're at about $20,000. You're talking about a 20-time growth. Look at that effect or impact it would have on the consumption system, on the manufacturing system within the country. We are just starting right now. I think we are just at that cusp of that hockey stick growth when things will start moving.
So it will be clearly a strong demand pull. But, how important are sectors of agriculture, education, skill development in realizing this vision of Viksit Bharat? I mean, do you see center and states actually working out a comprehensive plan to maximize the potential in these sectors?
I think there is no choice. Like, if India wants to move ahead, the states and the central government or the federal government will have to work together. And they have shown a very what I call great resilience or a great prospect for really doing that over the last few years, over the last decade or so. And if you really talk about the sectors itself, agriculture becomes very important from a single point of view, that today it has close to about 40%, 45% of the employment. So you have to make sure that people move away from agriculture, because they have to look at some higher productivity sectors. We need to improve productivity in agriculture, but they need to go to higher productivity sectors. And what are those sectors? They are effectively going to be healthcare. Healthcare is very nascent in India right now. You have what I call some great, excellent hospitals, doctors, what I call capabilities from innovation point of view, but they are pocketed in certain set of areas. So what we need to really do is that how do we take it to the other set of cities, all the districts within the country? If we are able to do that, look at the multiplier, look at the jobs it creates, look at the opportunities it creates. So we are just going into that sector itself. Education as a hub. I think, if you ask me, India has the greatest potential to be the education hub in the world. I think because of the talent that is there. One, of course, the young
Right.
population has a great internal market, but the possibility of attracting people from outside is also tremendous.